You don't learn how to be fascinating. You don't have to change who you are. You don't learn how to be fascinating, you unlearn how to be boring. Now, when I was growing up, I had a huge competitive disadvantage. What's my last name? Can you imagine what it was like growing up with the last name Hogshead? I literally would get teased on the playground and cry for my legal name. And I remember coming in to my mother crying from the playground and saying, why can't we just have a regular last name? And my mother, Mrs. Hogshead, said to me, it's the thing about our name that makes it different that will one day make you love it. And the same is true for you. The thing about you that makes you different is what makes people love you. Now, I didn't believe my mom at first, but as soon as I got up off the therapist couch, I knew. I knew that she was right. And the house that I grew up in was a little bit unusual. My sister was the #1 ranked swimmer in the world when I was 7 years old. She had 2 Guinness Book World Records when I was 7 years old in swimming. Then she went on to the Olympics, where she won 3 gold medals and a silver. Anybody remember this? Nancy Hogshead, 1984, Los Angeles. Nobody applaud. And so when I was growing up, I really wanted to figure out a way that I could be different. You know, what could I do to be different? How could I earn my parents' respect? And it only got more difficult because then my brother graduated from Harvard. So there I was, 7 years old, the baby of the family. And you know, I thought, well, I can't be different with athletics. I can't be different with academics. So I did what you do when you're not good at athletics or academics. I went into marketing. And my parents were always incredibly supportive of me, even though I was much more creative than my siblings. This is my dad, Dr. Hogshead. My dad's a retired surgeon. He's 82 years old. He still goes into work 4 days a week. He's my absolute role model, he and my mom. And my dad's a huge fan of the system and a huge supporter, very, very involved. I just talked to him for half an hour last night, describing to him about the book launch, and he follows everything really closely. And in fact, I had dinner with him just a couple of weeks ago, and he showed up wearing the shirt, and he said, do you like my shirt? And I said, yeah, I like your shirt. Why? And he said, because I'm wearing the Matrix. So my dad really helped me understand that I don't have to change who I am. I just have to become more of who I am. But it took time for me to understand this. And so as I was growing up, when I was 7, and I knew that I thought, okay, I can't do athletics, can't do academics. Those trees have been peed on. What can I do? What can I do to be different? So I decided that I was going to do dance. And this is my costume that was made for me for my solo in the dance recital. It was too tight, the elastic straps cut into my flesh, and it was highly flammable, but I thought it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. So I started taking these dance lessons, and I have to admit, I really was not very good. And I think my teacher agreed with me, because I remember my teacher saying, you know, Sally, you're not a great dancer, but you do have a certain spark. I thought, a spark, hand me the kerosene, I'm ready. So she gave me this solo in the dance recital. And in my mind, as a 7-year-old, I thought to myself, this is it. This is my chance to be fascinating. This is my shot. It's not about athletics. It's not about academics. So I thought, I want to find the light. I'm going to find the light. And so I was backstage, and my parents were out there, my brother, my sister, they were waiting out in the audience for my recital. And I heard my music begin, and my dance teacher leaned down and whispered in my ear, just don't forget the steps. So I came out on stage and totally forgot my steps. I mean, my mind went completely blank. And I remember looking out into the audience and just thinking, I wanted to find the light, and I've totally blown it. And the more panicked I became, the more I forgot the steps. And I looked back, you know how it is with a dance recital, and it's like a little girl's first time to wear makeup, and I was wearing mascara. And I remember looking back at my dance teacher, and she just looked horrified. And I could see my family in the audience. I saw my mother cover her mouth. And I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. And so they turned the music off, and the spotlight turned off. And I thought to myself, it's just easier to not try to stand out. And I walked off stage, and literally, I never took another dance lesson, ever. Literally, I never took another dance lesson ever again. Now, for you, I propose that you had a moment like this in your life. I propose that there was a moment when you put yourself out there and in some way you failed. It might have been when you tried out for a team. It might have been when you tried out for a job. You were fired from a position. You were turned down by somebody. There's a situation when we put ourselves out there at some point in our life and we get shut down. And what happens is we take our most fascinating traits and we put them in a box, and we put the box on a shelf, and we close the door, and we walk away from them, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to fit in. And we see this happen with our children. If you ever watched your child have a public failure, there is nothing more intimidating than public humiliation to make sure that your child will not put themselves out there again for a while. It's our job as parents, it's our job as professionals to identify the most fascinating traits, not only within ourselves, but with every single person in our life, at work and at home, and to help them become more of that, to help them become more of who they already are.